Okay, so let's go over Ethereum because Ethereum did hit all-time high, but now we're literally 20% away from our next all-time high. So what has been happening to Ethereum? Why does it not just blast through? Why is it having so much trouble? Today we're going to be looking at that with a technical analysis price action wise. And that way I want to clarify everything that has been going on Ethereum, especially this local part. Um, I don't want to get into much previous price action. It's about now. It's about the times that's going to come and the opportunities that are laying ahead. So let's start by going on the 3-day time frame. I think it's a great time frame. You know, everyone was a bit scared here with Ethereum with this massive dump. It looked like the goal was to just SFP the move that brought us all the way up to new highs, which we have done. Because if you hunt that high right here, you're most likely gonna go towards the opposite of that swing, and that swing was this move right here. We hunted the high, means we need liquidity from the lows. That's exactly what we did, and from there we continued trading. Really nice staircase, really aggressive as well. And if I start to draw on the market structure we have created here, it's gonna be as the following: a low, a higher high, higher low, and a higher high. Go to the daily. So what this means is if we never manage to break 3.4k on Ethereum, so if we cannot break that towards the downside, then it's up only, because that is our local market structure. And we're expecting a higher low for another higher high. Whatever happens in between these 2 points is whatever, but the order flow right now is to look for that higher low and that higher high. But it would have to hit our point of interest first. And why is this also a really important bit? Because this was the last pullback that brought you first up to all-time highs. Second up towards all of this resistance here. You can clearly see they tried to push down from here, but the buyers that have stepped in here have caused the market to hit all-time high and break structure towards the upside, which means if price comes back here, are they willing to defend their orders to push price up again towards new all-time highs? Okay, that was that. That was the story. Let's get into this local part now to see what opportunities we have and what opportunities we've maybe missed. We actually have created a massive range on Ethereum, and you know, everyone that has watched me before, I love to trade ranges. I like to trade consolidations because that means it's one big liquidity game and you have to figure out, okay, where are the big players scaling in orders and where would they be selling their orders? You're basically on track to spot a transaction in the market, as I would say. And the transaction, for example, is market makers filling up orders on the highs to short towards the bottom and to then take profit at this range low. That's what they do. So to continue this analysis, we have this range drawn in. When we're trending up, we want to draw a range from high all the way to low. And then we actually had our first deviation. Yes, it is actually two highs that went over it, but this is on your higher time frame. This is just one deviation, so I did want that to be in the chart because I found it really important to acknowledge. The supply can actually go bigger because it's this whole 12-hour order block. We're supposed to extend our range when it has deviated. The same here. So I can definitely argue that market makers have stepped in here to push price down. Well, normally a distribution like this can overflow into an accumulation. So the same thing we did here on the highs, we can also do on the lows. And it could have been that this distribution It's just the purpose to trade towards the lows and fill up orders. But then we have a slight problem there, because if we're building an accumulation at the lows, we want to have good targets. Where are your targets now? We have this high is protected. This as well tested a supply and we started trading down aggressively from there. So you could also argue protected, really good level. And this is just gonna be a really difficult move up on Ethereum, because there's only supply laying in this whole move. We have old lows here that we have to gain first. We have an ugly wick here, which most of the time is gonna get taken out. We have resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, here, here. It's all left open supply, so the move up is not gonna be easy. And that makes it less interesting for me to look for shorts. It makes sense that we get a reaction after a big dump like this, but I am going to be looking at continuation towards the downside so we can test this supply, because this clearly is a distribution to trade lower, and that's what I'm planning on doing. Where could you possibly trade lower? This pullback brought you to new highs. That's what holds the support here as well. So I think if you flip that, it's gonna become resistance. So this was your demand. And when you flip it, it becomes a breaker. We have tested it right here as a demand, but if you cannot gain new highs from there and flip it, then it's going to become resistance, and that makes it your breaker right now. Your supply would be this whole pool, because this little consolidation has brought you all the way towards new lows. Make it red. So this is already a really good point of interest to look for short from. I do think if we start to flip this level right here, around 4400, we could expect continuation upside. So that's your highly resistant point right now. So I was talking about flowing over into a accumulation. How do we do that? We either grab the low one more time, and the third tap below it has to mitigate something that is relevant. In this case, it would be this demand right here. So that's a scenario I want to point out. This is an option. Or we can touch extreme liquidity or extreme supply. Well, looking at this right now, we have too little price information on the local time frame to start looking at that. We have no demand here. There's nothing. It's just a grind up, and I wouldn't call this extreme liquidity yet. We need to wait for the market to do this, then move up, and then we have an extreme liquidity point and an extreme demand that we can test in. But for now, price action, you have to wait. It's unclear yet. We've just had a massive dump. Just let it form. So that would be one of the setups as well. And it is really important that we start to gain all of this old liquidity in the first place, because the market loves to test back all liquidity, and that would also align with where the market is against right now. So this could also be a resistant point, a little bit of liquidity here, another supply laying above. We could even start to force some kind of continuation here. So it's not going to be any more difficult than that on Ethereum. That's literally the local range discussed. High time frame, we're still up until proven otherwise, but we're gonna have to do it from here. If we do not do it from here, it could be scary. It could be a macro top, especially if we lose this part. Then you're just gonna expect price to continue here, and we'll have to see what price does from there. But this is your first part to hold, and you can look longs in this area for sure. If you hold this level, there's nothing more we can expect than upside. But if we start to reject what we have just done here, then we can also never go towards all-time highs. So that was Ethereum done. Nice and short, but strongly analyzed. So Ethereum looks great for potential high time frame trade scenarios that's gonna come.